Welcome, everybody. Um, we have our fancy background up here. Oh, look, when I put my hands up, if they're not in front, we get cut off. Oh, no, that's not bad. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Garden Coach webinar. We'll be starting in, 2 minutes. And Carly, the head of our virtual learning, informed me that she'd gotten a lot of feedback about people not getting their attachments, or actually the handout email. And so she's changed the way she's sending it. She's gone back to, instead of sending it from the Calendly address, it's going to be her address. You'll see an email from Carly T at shalleynursery.com that will have the handout. And when I say a handout, it's a 2-page, it's an outline of the topics that I'm going to be going over. I'll put it right here. And then see, and I usually do it front and back, but my photocopier was acting up on me today. So, okay, 1 minute and we'll go ahead, we'll get started. And I'll be sharing my screen. Let me see, where am I right now here? Well, here's the share the screen. Okay. Oh, I already see a question and answer, so I'll address that. I prefer that you use the question and answer screen. This is from Donna Dow. The frost last night zapped my peonies. Can they be saved? Donna, that is a great question. And everyone that's just signing in, I just checked the Q&A column, and I'm going to answer the majority of the questions afterwards. But because we're just a little bit in advance of getting started, I'm going to answer the first question that came through. I was out at 6:15 looking at my own garden, and I have peonies that were my great-great-grandmother's peonies that I got from the family farm and moved up to my house. And so I was concerned about them. When I went out this morning, I was really worried because they were all, the tips are about 20 inches tall right now, and they were all curved over and hard, frozen hard. And I thought, uh-oh, they're going to be damaged. Well, then after I went and took my shower, and before I got in the car to drive to work, which was about 8:15, they had straightened right back up, no damage at all. They're toughies. They're toughies. So I wouldn't worry about them. I wouldn't worry about them, Donna. Okay, so now I'm going to mark that as answered and done. And so everybody, please put any questions that you have in the Q&A column. I'm going to put it down right now so it doesn't interrupt me when I'm doing the presentation. And I've got so much great information for you today. First of all, this is Earth Day. So happy Earth Day, everybody. And I've got a bunch of really interesting information about the history of Earth Day. We have, let me see, how many people do we have? We've got 14 people and more signing on all the time. Welcome to Garden Coach. What I'm going to do is get my PowerPoint up so I've got some really good photos for you today. So we're sharing the screen, and here we go. Sharing the screen. All right, and slideshow from beginning. Okay, cooperate with me. There it is, from the beginning. Okay, and these are the topics today, and I just kind of outline these, and this is what's on, this is what your outline that you got, your handout, it matches, this list. I'm not going to go over all of this because we're going to go over it, as we go through the presentation. So today is the 51st anniversary of Earth Day, and Earth Day was actually founded in 1970. I was a sophomore in high school in 1970, and so I was a sweet young thing that shouldn't have been aware of too much that was going on, but I do remember, the first day, and it was founded as a day of education about environmental issues. On the first Earth Day, on April 22nd, 1970, there were rallies. There were rallies that were held in New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, and most other American cities. And this photo that you're looking at on the screen right now is in Washington, D.C. But in New York City, the current mayor at that time was John Lindsay, and he closed off, here, I'm going to just move on here. This is the picture of New York. He closed off Fifth Avenue to traffic for several hours during the middle of the day, and he actually spoke at a rally that was actually in Union Square. And actors Paul Newman and Ally McGraw actually were there also making statements and educating people. In Washington, D.C., which was the first picture I showed you, thousands of people listened to speeches and performances by one of our natives here in Chicago, Pete Seeger, and other actually musicians of the time. And even Congress went into recess so its members could speak to their constituents at the Earth Day events. What was really cool was that first Earth Day was really effective in raising awareness about environmental issues that really hadn't been in the forefront of people's concerns at all. And it really did the trick for transforming public attitudes. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, which was set up later, public opinion polls indicate that a permanent change in national priorities followed Earth Day 1970. When polled in May of 1971, 25% of the US public declared protecting the environment to be an important goal. That was a 2,500% increase over 1969. Earth Day kicked off the environmental decade with a bang. And that was a quote from Senator Nelson, who actually was the person that founded it. And I've got a slide of him in a minute. During the 1970s, a number of more important pieces of environmental legislation were passed. Among them, the Clean Air Act, the Water Quality Improvement Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Toxic Substance Control Act, and the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act. Another key development was the establishment in December 1970 of the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, which was tasked with protecting human health and safeguarding the natural environment, which included air, water, and land. So really, it's very, very instrumental. Here, let's keep going. By the early 60s, Americans were becoming more aware of the effects of pollution on the environment. And we credit, and most people credit, Rachel Carson and her book that was published in 1962. It was a bestseller, Silent Spring. My copy looks just like this one. And it raised the specter of dangerous effects of pesticides on the American countryside. And the most important one that was targeted was DDT. And the reason it was, she observed what was happening was how the DDT affected most birds. And what DDT did was it ruined the shells of eggs. So the populations were decreasing because of that. So because of her, DDT was banned. So, she was an incredible scientist, just absolutely incredible scientist. Now, I'm sorry for all the text on here. When we talk about who started Earth Day, it was a U.S. Senator, Senator Gaylord Nelson, who was a Democrat from Wisconsin, and he was determined to convince the federal government that the planet was at risk. And this was his opinion in 1969. And he was considered one of the leaders of the modern the modern day, after being inspired by the anti-Vietnam teach-ins on all the college campuses across the United States. So according to Nelson, he envisioned a large-scale grassroots environmental demonstration to shake up the political establishment and force the issue onto the national agenda. And so he announced this at a conference in Seattle in the fall of 1969 and invited the entire nation to get involved. He later recalled, which is really cool, and you got to remember, this was before the internet and trending and all that, all that stuff we work with today. The wire service carried a story from coast to coast. Here, the wire services carried the story. The response was electric. It took off like gangbusters. Telegrams, letters, and telephone inquiries poured in from all across the country. The American people finally had a forum to express its concern about what was happening to the land, the rivers, the lakes, and the air. And they all did so with spectacular exuberance. And so there's more history about Dennis Hayes, who was a young activist on the campuses, actually joined at Senator Nelson's office. And that was, he said, we had neither the time nor the resources to organize 20 million demonstrators, and the thousands of schools and local communities that participated. They held it in April so they could make sure that the college campuses still had all the students on them, and so they could be involved. And his quote was, "That was the remarkable thing about Earth Day. It organized itself," which is kind of cool, isn't it? I kind of love that. Okay, now what's going on today? April 22nd, Earth Day 2021, it's going to actually the celebrations start in Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and you go to the earthday.org website, and this is paralleling President Biden's administration's Global Climate Summit. And so this is earthday.org's second virtual or digital event because of COVID. And so it begins at 12 noon Eastern Time. So 11, as soon as I finish, you can log into that one. There's going to be workshops, panel discussions, special performances that will focus on Restore Our Earth, which is a trademark of earthday.org. And they're going to cover natural processes, emerging green technologies, innovative thinking, that can restore the world ecosystems. So more topics also: climate and environmental literacy, climate restoration technologies, reforestation efforts, regenerative agriculture. That's a huge, big topic right now. Equity and environmental justice, citizen science, which is a cool way for us citizens to get involved, cleanups and more, and then world climate leaders, grassroots activists, nonprofit innovators, thought leaders, industry leaders, artists, musicians, influencers, and the leaders of tomorrow will come together to push us towards, a better world. So I love seeing that Earth Day is still going and still working. So, now welcome to Chalet. And I need to announce that in honor of Earth Day, we've got a special sale, discounted prices on several perennials that are targeted for pollinators. So when you come into the nursery today, you'll see we have them all presented at the front part of the nursery, and you'll be able to see some really wonderful plants to add to your garden to help the pollinators. And then moving on to the next area, I just want to brag about how the nursery is open, and it has more and more and more product every day. We're getting multiple truckloads of plants every single day. So this is one of those times where you need to touch base with us, check our webpage on every day. And we're also sending out emails every weekend with special promotions about special groups of plants. So stay tuned to our, our emails. I love this, the opening. Our staff, our visual staff has done a phenomenal job. Look at these gorgeous containers. Now, they didn't look so good last night. I was going to take refresher photos. We had everything covered with tarps because of the hard freeze last night. And I don't want you to worry. I was really encouraged to see all the frost all over my lawn, because on Monday, I put all my grass seed out. And when you put grass seed down, you need to make sure that it gets watered or it stays consistently moist every day as it germinates and as it gets established. And most of our grass seeds are perennial ryegrass, creeping fescues, and bluegrasses. The ryes and fescues will germinate in 10 days when our temperatures are this cool, and the bluegrasses will germinate in 21 days. So it's very important to keep it consistently moist. Don't worry about covering it. Just make sure that the grass seed is in contact with moist soil, and it will come up. Let's keep going here. Look at the gorgeous containers. And then, I want to emphasize we're still being very socially conscious about, requiring masks for people to come, to come into the nursery. And then look at these great combinations our visual staff has done. And then you'll see, I love the Pyrus and the Forsythia that were in bloom. And then walking over the bridge into our nursery yard and underneath the pergola. And then we have just wonderful little vignettes everywhere. If you bring a cup of coffee in with you, my favorite's Dunkin' Donuts, but whichever coffee you drink, come in and have a seat on one of these chairs with this little cafe table and enjoy your coffee as you're enjoying the beautiful plants here. And then these are all the rhododendrons and azaleas, and then the flowering crab apples. There were a lot of plants in that heated tent last night. So we're still being smart because the average frost-free date is not until May 15. So always be aware of that we could have a hard freeze between now and that average date of the 15th of May. So, so we set up this tent with a heater in it just to be safe, And we rolled a lot of plants into the store last night to keep them protected. If you've purchased plants like these cute hanging baskets, move them into your garage overnight whenever they're talking about a hard freeze. And that just is a safety thing. Or move the containers next to an outdoor wall of your house, your building, and that also gives it some protection as well. I love these viola baskets, just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And then these are our signature containers. This is our signature design staff that does these pre-made containers. You can see our plant formation center. That's where you get your, you go to the windows on the back side to get help with nursery sales, and then also the diagnostic work with me. And then another great, I love how they have these colored stems to color echo the yellow pansies, the citronella heuchera that's in the front of those containers. And then these are the smaller containers that you can use indoors or out, and from our signature collection, and just an upfront look. And then I love this combo with the snapdragons that will keep growing throughout the rest of the summer. And then you've got the osteospermum up in the front, and then the little forget-me-nots off to the side. Those are the blue ones. Beautiful combinations. And then pansies galore. These are our pansy bowls. And then the benches of all our annuals. These are our spring blooming annuals that are cold tolerant. They're hardy down to temperatures in the upper 20s. They'll survive it. The flowers may get dinged up by a hard freeze, but the plants will be just fine. And they've been outside since we've gotten them. So that's called hardening off. They've been hardened off, so they're fine to go out in your garden. These are some of the, looking from the back tables forward. This is the creeping jenny, or the Lismachia, the aurea form, the golden form. And then look at all the beautiful ranunculus colors, going across those benches. And then you can see we're getting all our trees and shrubs in, and I mean, just in every direction you look. Spirea in bloom. and then flowering quince in bloom. And then this is a gorgeous crabapple, and looking through it onto the benches. And then I love this beautiful, beautiful, it's a cultivar of a Cornelian cherry dogwood. So the flowers are much larger, and I think I forgot what it's called. I forgot the cultivar name. Oh, Jenny, I think it's, well, I'll come back to that. Oh, and then these, I showed these last week, but I just wanted to show them again. These are the column apple trees. And there's a whole series of column fruit trees that don't take up a lot of space. They're happy in containers. And then the fruit is formed right along the trunk. It's the coolest cultivar that has been released in it's been the last probably 8 years. This is our dwarf conifer collection. And then, oh, look how full it looks. This is looking into the boxwood, looking across the junipers and the Japanese yews, and looking way back in the back to see all the wonderful arborvitae. We look like we're open for business. Isn't that great? I just love this. And then we also have the cool season crops. These are lettuces ready to go to just put into your garden and harvest right away. And they're hardy, hardy, hardy in these cold, cold temperatures. They're all the cold crops, so like cabbages and broccoli and the kales, ready to go in the garden, ready to go in the garden. You don't even have to start them from seed. Let me get a sip of water. Okay, now let's move forward. Oh, and then fruit trees. And I love showing you that we have the tom pots. Toms are neat. Toms are twice as deep as they are wide, and they encourage very deep root systems on plants. So I love anytime you can use a tom, it really is beneficial when you're doing container gardening. And then, oh man, these were the Bushel and Berry brand plants as they were coming in off the truck and on the rolling racks. And these are the dwarf berries. We have dwarf blueberries and dwarf raspberries. And the plants are dwarf. That means they only get to be, they range, there's some that go 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. Most of the dwarfs are 3 to 4 feet by 3 to 4 feet. And the plants are dwarf, but the fruit is standard size. So the standard size blueberries and the standard size raspberries. I love these. They're great in containers, also great in a smaller garden. They won't take up a lot of space. And then this is, these are the dwarf blackberries. And again, Bushel and Berry is the brand name on these dwarfs. Really fun, really fun. You can see our staff setting up benches all the time, all over the place, and they're moving things around to make it look refreshing and different every time you come in here. And neat new racks to show you all the different varieties of the pansies that we have. Pansies are the plant of the season. You just can't live without pansies this time of. And then these are the 4-inch pots, looking all across the whole set of those racks and seeing all the beautiful blooming trees across in the background as well. And then from the other direction, looking back towards the pergola, and another one. And another one. These are our cheater bulbs. So our growers have chilled them and forced them. And so you look like you were really organized. If you buy these and put these in your garden right now, the flowers will bloom, and it looks like you planted the spring blooming bulbs last fall, and then you leave them in the ground and they come back year after year after year. Be sure and fertilize. Use a good bulb food. I like the Dr. Earth bulb fertilizer because it has a very high, it's a 14% phosphorus, which is great for rebuilding the bulb and also setting the flower buds for next season. Oh, I love, these are the perennial cool season crops. My favorite pansy, permanent pansy or permanent viola, perennial viola in the front, called Etaine, E-T-A-I-N-E. They are just lovely, lovely, lovely. I just love them so much. And then you can see all the coral bells or the heuchera, the variegated foliage on the other side of that bench. We have outdoor cashiers now, so we're making it easier for you to get in and out if you want to just come in and get some plants and get back to your garden. And then we have new benches, so it's going to be a lot easier to shop for our containers. The displays are going to be much more friendly. We don't have to lift up as high, and they look good too, don't they? So with that, now we're going to move on to the horticulture business. And again, the most common question right now is, how can I fix my lawn from last year? This is the time to help your lawn. And you want to use this time of year, you want to make sure you give it a good fertilizer, and you want to put a pre-emergent weed control on it. Now, if you're not worried about creeping bent grass, and you're not worried about having to use grass seed to thicken the lawn up, you just want to do a good maintenance, you can use the Bonide step 1 or phase 1. We have to call it phase 1. Scott's calls theirs step 1s, but you can use the phase 1. Now, if you've got areas in the lawn where you think you might want to be seeding and adding seed to thicken up that lawn, you want to use a product, and it's the Scott's. There's 2 different labels on the same product right now. There's the Scott's Step 1 for seeding, and this is what it looks like. Scott's Step 1 for seeding is the bag over on the left in that photo, and the Scott's Triple Action Turf Builder. It's called Turf Builder Triple Action, built for seeding. It's the exact same product. One is a larger bag for 5,000 square feet. That's the step 1 for seeding. The Triple Action is for 4,000 square feet. So it's a smaller lawn and less expensive bag. The active ingredient is the AI on the screen right here, is mesotrione. And the mesotrione is an incredible pre-emergent herbicide that prevents weed seeds from germinating. It will kill creeping bent grass. What it does is it burns the chlorophyll out of it. And that also prevents nimblewill, which is, it looks like creeping bent grass. It kills nutsedge. Nutsedge is that horrendous weed that's in our heavy clay soils, and especially when they're wet. If we have a wet spring, every dormant nutlet that's in the soil germinates or wakes up and grows, and then it makes these seeds and spreads it all over the place. This product will get rid of that. I love it for that reason alone. But the neatest thing about it, it's an excellent fertilizer. It's a 21-22-4, which means it has 21% nitrogen, 22% phosphorus, which is the nutrient for seed starting. And then the potassium is 4%. And so you can put grass seed down after using this, and it encourages the grass seed to grow. So it is just incredible. Let me go over here. So here's your spring lawn care. You want to start with the fertilizer, pre-emergent weed control, which prevents the crabgrass and other weeds, and wait 2 weeks to see if and how much seed that you need to add, because the grass plants that were asleep all winter are waking up. And when you give them that fertilizer, they have the capacity of growing 3 inches in each direction. So unless you have a spot in the lawn that's wider than 6 inches in diameter, you may not have to do overseeding. And if you don't have to do it now, wait and do that in the fall. You get a much better result by doing it in the fall when the soil temperatures are very, very warm and the night temperatures are cool. So wait 2 weeks and see how it all thickens up. And then we use the coincide timing. Let me come back here. The coincide timing is when the forsythia goes into bloom. That's usually the signal that it's time to fertilize the spring lawns, because that means the soil temperature is warm enough for the spring grass plants, the cool season turf grasses, to actively grow. Now, the other coincide plant to be watching for is lilacs. If lilac's going to flower, that's the same temperature of the soil, 55 degrees, that crabgrass seeds can germinate. So don't wait until the lilac's going to bloom. And they usually don't go into bloom until the very end of May. It's the Memorial Day, shrub. And, so get that down before they go into bloom. Okay. Now, this is what happens to creeping bent grass. And this was my own lawn a year ago. And I used the step one for seeding. And then I documented it by taking photos. And this was a patch of creeping bent grass. Look how it looks white. It burns the chlorophyll out. It's the most rewarding product I have ever used. I keep repeating this at every garden coach. And then this is what it does to existing weeds, that the perennial weeds that come back. So dandelions, clover, and you can see now it's not labeled to kill them, but look how it dings them up. I mean, it really, I mean, see, it burns the chlorophyll out of their leaves as well. And so when you do spray with an herbicide, a lawn, weed killer, it kills them just like that. So, and then let's keep going. This is what it did to Creeping Charlie. And this is that's that same dandelion 2 weeks later. And see that the other photo was taken on the 14th of April, and this was taken on the 30th. And you can see how the grass all filled in, and that dandelion just got weaker and weaker and weaker. And when I hit it with the chickweed clover and oxalis spray, man, got it. Okay. Now this is if you don't have the lawn care calendar for Chicagoland, it's online now. It's on our webpage. So you can click on our webpage and download it from our webpage. We also have it in a document holder behind the microscope at the plant clinic inside inside the Chalet store. And then I give credit to creating that and that calendar to Bill Leuenberger. He was in charge of our lawn care, our soil and turf department for many years until he retired. And this was he and I, many years, we always gave the lawn care lectures together. 20 pounds and 20 years ago for me. And look at our old logo. Is that funny? But there's Immunox in its old uniform too. And it was a gray bottle rather than the black bottle. So now I want to point out that when people want to know if you do decide to add, and reseed bare spaces, this is how heavily to spread the seed. The middle is just right. The left is too light, and the right is too heavy. And for many years, I would always say to Bill, I said, this looks like the poppy seeds on the buns over at Irving's, the hot dog buns or the Rosen's buns. And so Bill said, why don't you go take a picture? And so Andy is the owner. That's my jumbo dog right there. And he let me go behind the counter and take photos. And so you can see the chart and the poppy seeds. So if you really want to get a hands-on experience, go over and get a hot dog. Tell them at the counter that you're coming to see how thick to spread your grass seed, and you want to get a hot dog so you know exactly how to do it. Okay, and here we go. Now, this is, get geared up to start, being aware of treating your lawn to prevent lawn fungal diseases. And the first one that shows up, and this sample came in about a month ago, a customer noticed it on their lawn, and this is dollar spot. I'm sure this was a disease that was active last fall when we were getting the fall rains. And the reason it's called dollar spot is when you put an infected blade of grass underneath the microscope, and even with the naked eye, when you're looking at it, it looks kind of like an hourglass, on the blade. And the spots in the lawn are usually the size of silver dollars, so they call it dollar spot. It's Sclerotinia homeocarpa, it's active when we have warm days and cool nights. And, when we had those 70-degree days, I think that was about a month ago, wasn't it? I should know this. It was a month or 3 weeks ago. I mean, we're almost tempted. A lot of people were wearing shorts here at the nursery. And then you also have prolonged leaf wetness, and with higher dew points and higher humidity at night, and with the cooler evening temperatures, this is a classic one for early spring. And then also, in early summer. And what encourages it is dry soils and low nitrogen fertility. And this spring, when this one first showed up, we hadn't had a lot of rain, and no one had put the fertilizer down. So this kind of fit the whole thing. Now, what you want to be aware of, if you had brown patches on your lawn last year. And classically, the fungal leaf diseases show up in July and August when we have hotter conditions and less rainfall. But the disease is active in May. So you want to use these fungicides, these systemic fungicides, Immunox, Infuse, or the BioAdvanced Fungus Control. They're all, the active ingredient on all of these is propiconazole. And you want to start using that the first week in May, the very latest May 15, but start using the first week in May and spray every 2 weeks for 3 to 5 times, and that will prevent the fungus that's in the soil from re-inoculating the actively growing grass plants. And then you won't see the damage later in the summer. So okay, now moving on from that, public enemy number 1 is still the rabbits. Oh my gosh, the damage that they have done, and the damage that they've done this last winter. We had a really mild winter. And then when we got that cold snap in February and the 4 feet of snow, the rabbits attacked all of our plants. And these are just examples of the damage that they can use. But even now, before the adults have babies, get out and spray the plants that they had been feeding on. They're like us. They go to a good restaurant and they keep going back to get another good meal. Plant Skeet is one of the most effective. It's a blood-based product, and you spray it on the plants and it stays on the plants you've sprayed for 60 days. So if you spray like a day like today where it's nice and sunny, let it dry for 24 to 48 hours, it stays on the parts of the plant that were sprayed for 60 days. It's really great. So I do say, I do recommend watching every 2 weeks during this active growth period as the new growth is coming, because newly produced parts of the plant aren't protected like the 60-day coverage. So keep spraying as new growth comes out and just focus on all that new growth. The best one, if you're dealing with a lot of baby rabbits, and if you have adults, you're going to have babies. So I start spraying my plants with this liquid Vince rabbit repellent, and it's a dual action rabbit repellent. It has cinnamon in it. They hate cinnamon. It burns their mouths, plus capsaicin, and it has 5 times the amount that the regular liquid Vince does. So it's really worthwhile. It's a really good product, and start spraying it now, and you actually have to spray the foliage. A lot of these products have granular versions also, but you have to start by spraying and protecting the plant. When they come up to the plant, they have to know that it tastes terrible. And then they go to another restaurant, they'll go to your neighbor's house and eat their plants. So okay. Now, this is really interesting. The boxwood leaf miner, I get samples. I used to get, this moved into the area, this insect, 7 years ago. I used to get 5 samples a week. Now I'm getting 5 samples a day. So like over 25 a week. And, and this is, and I'll show this, brighter, but I had the photos for this, but this is what most of the samples look like, when they, when they're coming into into the store. So, look at, and a lot of people just think it looks like winter damage. And so this, and I'm going to move on because I've talked about this the last 4 weeks, but I just got some new information from Dr. Joe Boggs, my good professor at Ohio State University. And let's keep moving forward. This is what they look like under the microscope when I peel a leaf open. Oh, doggone it. This is not the one I had fixed. Our computer system was terrible today. Well, I'll make this work. Okay, this is the female. And this is the best photo I have ever seen of what the adult female looks like. It's a tan colored gnat. This is enlarged, probably, it's not even, they're not even a quarter of an inch long. When they're flying, and you can see the females make these they use their ovipositor, and they make this, they dig in and lay eggs at those oviposition sites. And then what happens is the larvae are inside the leaf, actually eating away at the mesophyll cells, and it delaminates the surfaces of the leaf. And you can see they look like blisters on one side of the leaf. And then on the other side, this is something new that Dr. Boggs just noticed this spring. Actually, it was from last year. This is bird damage. And the birds, you can hear, a lot of times they joke about boxwood sounding like Rice Krispies, hearing pop, pop, snapping and crackling when the larvae are feeding. The larvae feed during the spring also. They go dormant over the winter, and all those larvae, you saw that picture about all those larvae were inside in the middle of the leaves, and they start feeding again, and you can hear that cracking. And so the birds hear that too. They get in, and then they peck open, and it's the birds that are the most prominent for doing this are the tufted titmouse, and they go and rip open the bottom of the leaf to eat those larvae out. And it's good for the birds. I'm glad they have that, but it just, look what it does to the boxwood. It absolutely ruins boxwood. And this is always the new growth from the current season. So this was the new growth from last year. And then this is what, and the nice thing is that new growth will form at the tips of these and grow out. So it can actually cover this, but it really damages the plant. And you can see how they just peel the whole back surface of the leaves off and eat the larvae out. And then this was, I'm sorry, I had changed these slides and our computer system, it wasn't working. So anyway, this is spider mite damage, and boxwood spider mite for many, many years was just considered an anomaly. And, but now that, we're using more insecticides on our boxwoods, the spider mites are becoming more active. So with saying that, I'm going to recommend that people use the 3-in-1 from Bio Advanced, and it has a combination of, it's a spray rather than a drench. It has a spray of the systemic insecticide of imidacloprid, a fungicide, and also a systemic miticide. So that will keep them very well protected. These are the leftover flowers from the boxwood. Very insignificant, but pollinators are attracted to them nonetheless. And then this just shows the stippling damage. I've been seeing lots of samples coming into the microscope looking like this. So be aware of that and be prepared to protect your plants because of that. Okay, oh, doggone it. Here we go. Now, if you're taking care of the boxwood leaf miner, you'll also prevent the Boxwood Psyllid. And Boxwood Psyllid are the insects that cause the cupping shape on the new growth each season. And you can see the picture of up here in the upper right-hand side. Those are the nymphs that are on the insides of underneath sides of the leaves, sucking the juices. They also make that cottony mass that protects them from predators and also from sprays. So a systemic is very, very good to use on these. And then you won't get those cupped leaves. All right, now these are the two systemics, the Bayard tree and shrub, or it's Bio Advanced is the new label. And then also the Bonide annual tree and shrub. And if you use this as a soil drench, you mix it based on the height of the plant. The height times 3 is the number of ounces you mix to a gallon, pour it right where the trunk goes in the ground. It's absorbed in, it stays in the plant for 12 months. Really helpful. Now looking at boxwood and the viburnum, make sure you've got your viburnums protected. And this insect moved in 5 years ago. It's the most evil insect. Both of these insects are aliens, which means they're not native to this country, and there's no native predators, or there's no native predators that take care of them, that will eat them. And although I just said about the tufted titmice that will eat the larva, they've discovered it's nice and tasty, but nothing eats these, or I don't think they've discovered it yet. But you want to protect your viburnums, especially the smooth leaf viburnums, like the ones that are on this screen. Those are the dentatums, the nanny berries. And you can just see how when the larvae hatch, they just devour the plant. And usually they can actually strip a plant of its leaves and the stems in 3 to 5 days. And then they drop to the ground and pupate. And then they turn into the adults and come back as adults in July and August. damage the leaves, the new leaves that have formed, and then lay eggs on the plants. So you really want to use the systemics on these to protect your crops. Let's keep moving. Plan to protect all of your plants that are susceptible to fungal problems. This is the week to start spraying. Everything is at bud break. In fact, you're probably about a week and a half late. And I won't say late, but you could have started a week and a half earlier. But because of the systemic nature of the Immunox, and I'm going to come back to this, Immunox and Infuse, if they've already been inoculated and you spray the plants with these, it will kill the fungus that's in them before they actually have done any damage. And so the problems you want to prevent: apple scab on crab apples, apples and cotoneasters, black spot on roses, rust on roses, botrytis bud blight on peonies and also on roses, volutella stem blight on pachysandra and boxwood, and then powdery mildew on everything. Powdery mildew on roses, lilacs, peonies, powdery mildew you can get on everything. And Monarda. Patch diseases are the patch diseases I just talked about on the lawns, turf and lawns. Okay, and then, you want to apply while the plants are healthy to prevent the inoculation. So that means now. And using the systemic products, stain the leaves for some for 14 days, others for 30 days. And you want to start at bud break, which was last week, and then keep repeating if the weather stays cool and rainy. And here we go. These are the soil drenches, and I love these just for, just because you're not spraying. And this time of year, you don't have to be as worried about doing a lot of collateral damage of other beneficial insects, but we're getting close to having them out and about. So I like to use a soil drench. The all-in-one rose and flower is just a miracle. It has a systemic insecticide, a systemic fungicide, and fabulous fertilizer. And for roses, it's 2 ounces. That the top is a handy measuring cup, 2 ounces in a quart of water, and you pour it right where the stem goes into the ground. The trunks are going into the ground. You can use this on boxwood too, and on even small flowering trees. And it's 1 inch per foot of plant height in each ounce, 1 inch, 1 ounce, not 1 inch, 1 ounce per foot of plant height. So boxwoods are about 3 feet tall, 3 ounces, and just put in a gallon of water. They say for each ounce you want to use 1 quart of water, and then up to 4 quarts is a gallon. The water is just a carrier, so you can get by just using 1 gallon, even if you're measuring like 12 ounces, and you just want that carrier to get those chemicals and the fertilizer down into the root system, right at the root collar. That's where the trunk attaches to the root system. 60% of an entire root system uptake is done at the root collar. So that's what makes these soil drenches so wonderful to use. The Rose RX from Bonide just has the fungicide and the insecticide, no fertilizer, in case you want to use your own fertilizers. Okay, these are the earth-friendly fungicides. So copper fungicide is copper octanoate or copper soap. Use that on peaches right now, and use that on all fruit trees to prevent any of the fungal diseases, but to not kill pollinators. All of the flowers are starting to open. You want those to get pollinated by insects, so you don't want to add an insecticide at this time. After the petals of the flowers have all dropped, then you can switch to an orchard spray that has an insecticide to prevent the insects from causing damages to your fruit. Now, the copper fungicide in the taller container in the middle is actually a powder, and it's copper sulfate. It's tougher to apply. It's okay as a dust, but when you want to spray it, you have to keep the solution completely agitated, because you want all those particles to be suspended in the solution so they can get sprayed evenly. And then sulfur plant fungicide is the same way. You have to use it as a suspended solution, and so you have to keep it agitated as you're spraying. I like the copper fungicide in the liquid form, the copper octanoate, because it mixes beautifully, sprays easily, and without really any problems at all. And these are the diseases you're going to be protecting from: apple scab on apples and crab apples, also hawthorns and cotoneaster. And then this is anthracnose. And I was going to say it hasn't been much of an anthracnose year. However, we really haven't had too much rain. So we may luck out about not having, but every time I say something like that, then we get a real rainy spell. But so this is anthracnose on oaks, lilacs, lindens, and also hostas. So you would use the fungicide. And then black spot on roses. This is a classic disease you want to prevent on roses. And then I'm still getting samples. Look at this one that just came in just yesterday. And people are still seeing this, and it still has flowers on it. This is the ranunculus or at Ficaria, or actually Ficaria nivis. So, get out there, get it sprayed. You have one more week before it's going to go dormant. So, and it's a terrible, terrible weed. They also call it fig buttercup because of the tubers that are produced. The native plant that we love does not have any of these tubers. This is an Asian derived weed that was introduced into the country. It's beautiful in flower, but it'll take over. And what makes it so evil are the little bulbils that form at the axils of the leaves. And then this is an ephemeral, like Virginia bluebells. Once it finishes blooming, it dies back to the ground. And when it does, it leaves all these bulbils to just land, and they turn into tubers. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And so you can see how this is where it is in turf grass. When you're taking care of it in a lawn, you can use any of the quality lawn weed controls, like the chickweed clover on oxalis. That's my favorite. I just did 12 gallons on my backyard this past weekend. I know it'll be 2 weeks ago, and to try to get rid of it. It took over my backyard. And then you can also use the Weed Beater Ultra, or the crabgrass and broadleaf weed killer. There's also a product called Sedginder that will take care of nut sedge. It also will work. Use one of the others, not all of them. And if it's in an open area, you want to use a non-selective herbicide, like a glyphosate-based herbicide. And if you treat after it starts flowering, and they did this 2 years in a row, they got 95% control, which is spectacular to get rid of that. And this is Weed Beater Ultra, chickweed clover and oxalis. This is my favorite. Triclopyr is the active ingredient that really makes the difference in that one. This is the Roundup. And then we also have a non-glyphosate based. This doesn't work as well, but it will kill it if you don't want to use glyphosate. And it's called Iron Hedida. And it's a chelated iron. You spray it on weeds. It doesn't kill the grass plants, and it causes iron toxicity. And then when the weed breaks down, it just puts iron in your soil, which is what all plants need. Okay. Now, I'm doing great. It's 10 minutes till close. And I started this last week to let you all know what is the horticulturist doing in her own garden this weekend. So after spraying to kill all the weeds in my lawn, I spread sunny seed in my backyard and shady seed in my front yard. So now I am keeping it moist by watering it every day. I was actually thrilled to see how heavy the frost was all over my lawn. And I went to look, and it was on top of the grass seed tube. And that was at 6:15 in the morning. I know, am I a freak? I go outside with my coffee and, in my Yeti to keep it nice and warm. And then I look around in the garden. And then when I went out at 8:15 to drive to work, all the frost had thawed. And it was just taking that seed down into the soil. So this was kind of a good thing that happened. I'm getting my vegetable garden back in shape this weekend. My husband actually rebuilt my raised bed gardens. And the 2 years ago, my dad was so terribly ill that I spent all of my garden time driving back and forth to his home in Arkansas to help, to help. He had surgery 3 times, and he was in the hospital 2 more times. And so my garden just deteriorated. I never got my garden in, and then it got overgrown. And so it was so bad last year, and my dad did pass away, and I was in charge of his estate. So that tied me up all spring, taking care of that. So I never got my garden put in, and it just was pathetic. And so my husband, he had put the raised bed, he had rebuilt the raised bed 10 years ago. And so he did it again. Isn't that nice? So I'm going to get my garden started this weekend. I'm going to put my lettuces out and some kale. And I have a rhubarb there already and lots of chives. So that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to really focus on watering to keep my grass seed nice and moist until it gets completely germinated. And then I'm going to start my tomato seeds inside this weekend. It's not too late. And so I'll get the seedlings started, and they'll be just ready to put out after the frost-free date. And now I really am a traditionalist. I wait till Memorial Day because I don't want to stress my tomatoes out, because if they ever get stressed, they never do a good job later. So don't even give them a chance to get stressed. So they don't go out to Memorial Day. So I have plenty of time to get the seeds started, and then I'll set the seedlings out. And then, I'm also going to repot my strawberry plants. I had my strawberry plants growing in hanging baskets on a bird hook. I have like a tri-top bird feeder. And I hung my strawberries there so that the chipmunks and the squirrels couldn't get to my berries. And so they got overgrown. So what I'm doing this weekend is I'm going to take them out, divide them, and replant them, divide them up and replant them in more hanging baskets, and just put fresh soil and get them started all over. So I use a strawberry, it's called TriStar, and it's what the chefs all love because it has a beautiful form, wonderful flavor, and it's red all the way through the whole berry. So it's fun if you slice them up and use them when you're cooking. So with that, I've noticed I have some questions and answers, or some questions. I need to give the answers to that. So let me, I'm going to just get out of this. I'm going to stop sharing before I do that. Oh, I stopped sharing. Cool. Hi, everybody. And let's do the Q&A, questions and answers. Okay. I'm going to scoot this over so I can see a little bit better. All right, here we go. This is Louise. Hi, I use Scott's Triple Action Turf Builder. Can I plant seed? Absolutely. You're talking about grass seed. It's Louise. It's Louise. You can do grass seed. Absolutely. And I like to wait 2 weeks, so it gives me an idea of how the dormant grass is awakening and filling in, and then I know exactly how much grass seed to get. You might not have to use as much, but absolutely, the triple action is the best. It's really the best. Okay, and then if you had a lot of creeping bent grass, you might consider doing it again as your Memorial Day fertilization, and then that also protects for crabgrass a little longer if we stay cool, if we stay cooler. But great question. Okay, this is Gail Collins. I can't find the lawn care calendar online. Can you be more specific as to where it is? Oh my gosh, Gail, I'm going to jot your name down and just send you a copy, and then I'll find out exactly where it is. I haven't looked at it. I know Carly told me she put it up, but I hadn't looked at it. So let me, Gail Collins, and okay. And Gail, if to be safe, send me an email at jenniferb@chaletnursery.com, and then I'll just reply to it with with the lawn care calendar attached. Okay. All right, here we go. Great question. And next one is this is Susan. Hi, Susan. Is there a fungicide that does not contain insect control? Oh, that's an excellent question. Yeah, the Immunox doesn't, if you get the concentrate, it doesn't have insect control in it at all. If you're getting the lawn formula, Oh, I think they added insect control in the lawn formula. But if you just get the concentrate bottle, it's the fungicide only. It's myclobutanil. Infuse also is only a fungicide. It's propiconazole. So, so yeah. Um, Great question. Great question. This now, Mimi Morris. Hi, Mimi. I sprayed the lesser sounding in my lawn with sedgender 10 days ago, and I see absolutely no visible result. Oh, it's going to take 10 to 14 days for that to happen. Should I spray again now? I remember you saying that it can take several years to eradicate it. But it'll probably take 2 years. Maybe because of the tubers. The tubers store a lot of energy, and but the sedgender in that sulfantrazone is the active ingredient. It takes 10 to 14 days, so you'll start seeing it. And what happens is oftentimes it looks like it's growing more. You'll think, oh my gosh, all I did was encourage it. But that indicates that the fungicide, the herbicide is penetrating it. And what happens is the petioles or the stems of the leaves elongate, and then you'll start seeing it curl up. So don't give up. Don't give up on it. And one application should be enough. Great question. Great question. Okay. And now this is Jen. I have daffodils planted in bouquets. Cool. In north-facing beds in front of the house. I use Dr. Earth bulb food in the fall. Some of the late blooming variety bulbs are drooping severely. I have watered, maybe not enough. Did they droop because before the hard freeze last night, or are they just bent over because of the frost? They could be dry. We have not had enough water that we should. So it's good that you watered, and give it a good soaking. I was really excited when they were talking about getting 2 to 3 inches of snow, and I wanted it because I wanted it to land. And this I spent many years of my childhood in Kansas, and the way they do turf grass care in Kansas, they'll sprinkle the lawn seed at the end of winter on top of all that snow that's left over. And then when the snow melts, it just takes it right down, and the grass seed goes right down into the soil. And so it works the same way. Whenever you have snow on top of grass seed that you put out, as the snow melts, it helps pull the seed right in direct contact with the soil. So I was really upset that snowfall went south of us. I wanted it in my lawn to help that grass seed. But back with the daffodils, that frost that we had may have given it some good moisture too, because as the frost thawed out, that went down into the thing. But definitely give it more water. If you think that you haven't watered enough, you probably haven't. So good question. And here's Jen again. Drooping and watering happened before the frost. Do you think it's a fungus or pest? No, Jen. I really think it's just lack of water. Go ahead and give it some water, and they should perk right back up. They're toughies. They're tough plants. They're used to growing in the Mediterranean in a real rocky area. So now the other, as I'm saying that, the other option or the other thing could be, if you have heavy water there, if you ever had standing water, they could have a root rot going on. So kind of analyze it, and then email me. Jennifer B at chaletnursery.com. And I can, if you want to send me a photo, I'll take a look at it. You can always email me directly, or you can also email our customer call center, and it's hello@chaletnursery.com. And then that goes to our call center. And unless you want me to do something like diagnose something with the microscope or look at a photo or something like that, just send it to hello@chaletnursery.com. And they send your request to all the other people here at Chalet. They have access to everybody here at Chalet. Okay. So, hey, you all have been great. Let me see. So I have the one question, and I did that and done. And I think we're good. I don't see any chats. And we're right at 11. So everybody, thank you so much. Oh, people were wanting me to let them know about what I'm going to be talking about in next week's session. And next week is going to be roses. I'm going to focus on roses and, how to plant them if you're planting new ones, how to take care of existing roses, what the best products are. And that's going to be the forefront talk. And then also talking up and showing you the varieties that we're going to be getting in. And then I'll also talk about everything else I've seen at the microscope and at the diagnostic desk. So thanks for keeping tuned to the garden coach at Chalet. Here's one more. Marion Wolf, another great day, Jennifer. Thank you. Keep it up. Mwah. Marion, thank you so much. You all are wonderful. I'm so appreciative of you, and thanks for staying tuned. And come and see us at the nursery. It looks gorgeous here. It's such a great getaway, and so enjoy. Thank you all. Bye now.